Hi everyone, my name is Maor and welcome to my channel. This channel is dedicated for those that are working on their own ascension process. Did you know that sex is actually an ancient spiritual practice? If you're anything like me, you've probably had a lot of unspiritual sex in your life. Don't worry about it, everybody does it for a time. And in this video, we're going to dive into why Tantric sex actually transformed my life and how you can begin having the absolute amazing sex of your life. Before we begin, I'll tell you the story of how I found this. It all started when I was about 19 years old. Now, I don't know, most of my viewers are American, Canadians, Australians, people from the United Kingdom. You guys have no idea, but us in Israel, we go to the military at 18 for a mandatory minimum of 3 years. What happened during that time is that you don't get any money whatsoever. You get about $80, $100 a month from the military. And that made me very, very poor. And I was looking for alternative methods of having any sort of income. One of those things was donating sperm. Funny enough, I'm a little bit embarrassed about talking about this. But when I was 19, that is one of the jobs I did. I donated between 2 and 3 times a week. And every time it was like $50, $60, and I managed to survive out of that. And what happened during that time is because you are not allowed to donate more than a certain amount of times a week, because the sperm count actually decreases every time you have an orgasm and ejaculate, then they won't be able to accept your sperm or your donation. So I had to actually learn how to enjoy sexual relationships without eventually reaching an orgasm, which were my limiting beliefs were then, that an orgasm has to come with an ejaculation. With time, I started practicing and I started going to workshops and reading books about it, and I understood that Tantric sex is a spiritual practice where the man doesn't try to achieve an orgasm or achieves an orgasm without the ejaculation part at all. In other words, I could continue to donate sperm and continue to enjoy my sexual life being active and not have to be limited in some way. But it completely changed my focus from going towards the orgasm, understanding that it's going to come in 10-15 minutes, which is the average. Some people say that the average is actually 6-7 minutes statistically by research. And I wanted to really change something in that. Now, at 19, it was your peak. Now I am 37 years old. And I can tell you, the Tantric sex, if you're looking for something to enhance the human experience, if you are tired from, doing the same thing over and over, doing the same type of positions, you're probably also a little bit bored because you're doing it with the same person. But we love this person. Most of us are in a relationship in some way. We can do this without, but it requires a person that will understand you, accept you, understand that this is something that we do together. It's something that a man can enjoy by himself, and this is how I started practicing, but it's better together always. That both sides know that they're capable of doing that, because there's also something that has to do with the energy, a visualization of an energy transferring during the intercourse itself. So I can tell you, when I discovered it and I was about 19, I started practicing by myself, of course. So when you start practicing by yourself, you understand that it comes in sort of like waves, an uptrend. In other words, what a normal person, they go up, 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 up in their sexual tension until they explode and have an orgasm, and then immediately they deflate. In Tantric sex, like in many things in life, you go up, 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 up until 70-80%, and then you stop, you go down for a little bit. In other words, if you can't hold yourself, you pull out, you caress, you have, foreplay, you talk for a while, and then you go back in. But after you go back in, again, you're going down from the 70-80 percentile, go down to about 50%, and then you go up again. But the next time, your next peak is a little bit higher. And every time it gets a little bit higher. In other words, you get a little bit more aroused. And then when you do decide, and it's a choice, when you do decide to peak, you go for the 110%, 120%, much longer, ecstatic orgasms with your partner, of course. But again, you can also achieve this by yourself. If you're masturbating or touching yourself, you can also practice this. It requires dedication, and there's a lot of failures on the way as well. When you're trying to find that perfect balance point between going too far and not going far enough. In other words, the balance point is somewhere in the 70, 80, 90 percentile for each person. So once I started practicing this, and again, I did it when I was 19 for a year or two, I completely forgot about it. I got to mainstream regular relationships. And then after a while, I started remembering. And this happened after my Pranic Initiation, after I became a breatharian. I started remembering how much energy is wasted, how much energy is sitting in that location. I mean, think how much energy it is required to create a human being. That's the amount of sexual energy. And in the same location, there's a chakra, a very active chakra, and in the same location, you have the Kundalini energy as well. So it's all sitting together. So what happens is that the man gives his sperm that creates a lot of a lack of energy, and the woman gives her energy as well, and then they create a human being together. But it's all potential. Now, what if you don't ejaculate? All that energy is not wasted. All that energy can be used in order to experience something that is deeper and profound. I mean, what is the orgasm itself? And the orgasm is our need to go back to prime creator. In other words, during that 1 second, 30 second, 1 minute, depending on who you are and how practiced you are in this, you are actually becoming God himself in a timeless state. You enjoy that in all your body. Every cell is feeling it together, like this electricity. And that is what you want to achieve. If everybody in the world would have had amazing tantric sex, it's not only about love, spiritual development, personal development, it is about that godlike senses all fired up together. All of them together. Most people do it today because it's the animal instinct that wants to get off. In other words, a few days pass and then you get very, very horny and then your body just wants to, do it. But what we're talking about is something completely different. Something that encourages love, encourages caress, encourages, that feeling that you are being held by something. And it's something that you do together, which is amazing for the relationship as well. So if everybody in the world would have done that, I promise, today, world peace. No problem. Like, really, everybody together. It's like, they say that if one person in 100 would actually meditate, then we will have world peace. And I can tell you that if one person in every 1,000 would become a breatharian and raise the vibrations of their body and spirituality in just like in 2 weeks, then we will have world peace. This is the same. It works. It's in the same type of scale. So when I understood that, I found the right type of partners. I started experiencing it in a deeper and profound way. I didn't miss the old type of sex anymore. I didn't miss that 10 minutes, that like the animal thing that we used to do. I started enjoying and experiencing a higher degree of self-love, of a connection, an energetic connection with another human being. Now, don't forget that it's a give and take. So you are giving energy and receiving energy, and giving and receiving and giving and receiving. It's sort of like, breathing the same air with somebody. And because it's a synergy, then you're actually increasing your potential together. And, it's also a really good workout. Today I can tell you that I really, really recommend that you read about it. I have 2 amazing good videos about them. One of them is like my #1 video on this channel. And it got already, I think, hundreds of thousands of views, and which is pretty much practical. Now, I don't want you to think only, oh, Tantra, it's spiritual, it's for those type of people. I want you to think that it's both spiritual and very grounded. It's something that we can all really enjoy. And there's certain tips and advices and tools that I teach you in those different videos that are really easy to just start practicing. For men, it's about the muscle, about the control of the muscle, the same type of muscle that when you pee, then you can stop and practice with that. It's also about the $1 million point. And for the women, of course, it's about encouragement of your man to help him out, to make him feel comfortable when he's playing around with this, because there's a lot of hit and misses and stuff like that when you pretty much fuck up your orgasms for a while. But you have to be gentle with yourself, like a muscle. It requires practice, and you cannot do a quickie. There's no such thing as a tantric quickie, okay? There's only finding the slot, the window of time that you can both give yourself that time and treat it like a ceremony. And when you're there, don't think, be there, be in the love, be in the breath, be present, okay? That is what it's about. And you'll see that everything else happens by itself. Just imagine that you're now having an intercourse and start focusing on your love to the person that is with you and on your own breath. The deeper the breath is, you will start visualizing that the energy starts flowing between the two of you together. If it's Tantra, it's one direction. If it's Tao, it's the different direction. But they both work on the same pranic channels, in other words. So if you're really into it, and I highly recommend that you even just give it a try. Yeah, I know most of us are kind of like bored from our sex life. Sex can be fun, but it's not just to get off. You know, it's not just to get off every few days or every week or however often you do it. It can be profound. It can be a deeper human experience, and we all wish to get there. So it's not only about looking at this type of videos, it's about grabbing your partner by the hand, looking them in the eye, say, we're gonna do this, we're gonna try, okay? Let's just, review the different videos and see if we can start. And even if we fail, we tried. Tried for a week, tried for a few weeks. I guarantee your life will change. Your relationship is going to be much deeper and much more connected. And you yourself are gonna enjoy the different benefits of it because it changes your life. Really, it has completely transformed mine. My friends, thank you very much for watching me. If you have any tips about tantric sex or questions about tantric sex, simply ask them down here in the comment section. I will be very happy to answer anything that you have. I am not a teacher of tantric sex, but I have experienced it for many years now, so I know a thing or two. So thank you very much for watching me. Really, I really appreciate the fact that from all the different videos, you chose mine. So thank you very much and namaste.